What's happening? Good to see you. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles live from La Ciudad de Nueva York. What is going on? It is Shout Out Sunday. I'm happy to see you. I really am. I missed you. We are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, The Texas Silver Rush, Chain, Reaction Records and Skateboards, Your Core, Fan Page, DTFM, Vinyl Distro, and Chacho's Tacos. What's going on? What's going on? The world's opening up. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. It's all happening. What's happening? What's happening? What's up, Alan? Organic Grills. Yeah, it's Organic Grill Sunday, right? Gome, whoa, greetings from Gießen, Germany. What's happening, Gome? Welcome aboard. Andrej, how do you put Andrej? It's windy here in London, bro. It's windy here in New York too, dude. Jim in Fort Lauderdale, what's happening? Good to see you. Yo, come on, Jamie Sharappa from SSD Control, my man. Oh, that's right. We got a Boston guy on the show. We got a Boston guy, right, Chris Corkum? We got a Boston guy on the show today. That's cool. All you Boston. Ray Hogan, yo, I got to shout out Ray Hogan hard, man. Ray Hogan is a great supporter of this show. So, thanks a lot, Ray. I appreciate it, man. Right off the bat. Lori Dawn, how are you? Travel restrictions lifted, and I'm heading to New York soon. Oh, is that right? Is that right, darling? You're coming to New York soon? Well, I hope you're around for these events we have coming up. Cheers from Brazil. Larry Kelly, Marblehead, Massachusetts, represent. Home of Jake Phelps. There you go, David Goldberg, it's windy in PA. It's crazy, this wind thing, it happens all over the earth. Hey, let's talk about some upcoming shows here. Coming up, so you better get this party started. Well, the Gitter show's today, but a week from today, there is no show on Wednesday. So what's going to happen? So what's going to happen now with we're doing every other Wednesday. And the Wednesday that we're not publicly doing a show, we're doing a Patreon show. So they're gonna flip. So every time we're not doing a show that's going out like this live, I'm doing a special private Patreon show. That's the way it's going to work from now on. So, as if you didn't already know, I'll put the banner up there. All you lurkers out there, all you lurkers, and all you cheap fucks, join Patreon. There's a $2 tier, a $5 tier, a $10 tier. So basically, what is that? Twice a month, every other week, we're going to do a Patreon show with some special guests. That said, a week from today is Jimmy. That said, this Wednesday will be a Patreon show. This Sunday, a week from today, not this Sunday, but a week from today, will be the return of James Drescher from Murphy's Law, always a hoot. The Wednesday after that, have not announced this show yet. So this is an official show announcement here. Johnny Waste from Urban Waste, old school New York hardcore, A7 guy, also played in Major Conflict. So Johnny Waste from Urban Waste coming on the show. Then John Jesse from Nausea. Sunday, April 14th, Al Baril from SSD Control, which is going to be great. We're going to have Nancy Baril come on as well, his wife. And then, of course, there's a little bit of a buzz on this one. Wednesday, April 7th, Billy Psycho from the Psychos. It's going to be great. Absolutely. Rest in peace, marvelous Marvin Hagler from Brockton, Massachusetts. One of the greats. What else? It's raining in Copenhagen. Good to know. Yes, Corkum, Al and Nancy on the show. So that's what's going on. Today's Gitter, Jimmy G is a week from today. Johnny Waste coming on. John Jesse, a lot of Johns. A Jimmy, 2 Johns, an Al, a Billy, and a Mike. You know, pretty basic here, you know. Yes, Marvin Hagler passed away. Yep. It's fucked. That said, what else do I want to talk about? We're going to do things a little bit differently today on the show because, as it turns out, Stephen Messina, the hardcore shutterbug, our photo of the day ties in with our guest today. So we're going to bring Stephen on along with our guest, and I'm going to bring our guest on a little early today. I know everybody kind of has a routine. They don't think I'm bringing a guest on, for a little while. But today we're gonna mix it up a little bit. Anything else I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? I could talk about it at the break. Talk about it little. It is Shout Out Sunday, so if you want to shout anybody out, there you go. Let's get my intro here. What the hell else did I want to talk about? The A7 comp, we talked about that plenty. Where is the A7 comp? Hold on. A7 comp. Where are you? Officer Krupke. Oh, here we go. The A7 comp is, if you didn't know, the pre-sale's going up in a couple weeks. It's the A7 Back to the New York Hardcore Roots New York Hardcore compilation featuring Crazy Eddie Enziguri, Dead Blowhammer, Kings Never Die, The Car Bomb Parade, Antidote, NYHC, The Ice Cold Killers, The Last Stand, The Craze, Crippled Urn, Reaching Out, No Compromise, Silence Equals Death, End of Hope, Necrotic Society, Diamond Dogs, and Stephen Messina's own Serial Poets. All right? So there you go. Pre-sale going up in a couple weeks. Everybody get up and get down. That said, let me think. I think that's it. Let's bring our guest on. I know it's a little early, but don't be scared. So that said, hold on, make sure hold on. The book behind Drew is a mirror image of my placement of the book. Okay. Yep. Is today the 1-year anniversary of Jake Phelps? Is that right? It's today, 1 year? Wow. When we bring our guest on, we'll talk about that. Yeah. Ray Hogan, Mike Gitter's article in Rip Magazine turned on a lot of suburbanites to New York hardcore. They wouldn't listen to me, but they listened to a metal mag. Okay, listen. Good intro. I'm going to roll with it. Today's guest is a lifelong music enthusiast and professional hailing from Marblehead, Massachusetts. He's had an eclectic career as an independent and major label A&R executive, artist manager, music journalist, DJ, club booking agent, promoter, and tour manager. As an A&R executive, he's responsible for several million records sold at the labels Razor and Tie, Roadrunner, Atlantic, and currently Century Media. At one time or another during their careers, he's responsible for the signing of Bad Religion, CIV, Orange 9mm, Body Count, who's up for a Grammy tonight, Jawbox, Killswitch Engaged, Il Niño, The Misfits, and many more. Please welcome, coming at us from Los Angeles, California, our old friend, Boston, Massachusetts represent, Mr. Mike Gitter. What's up?
Hey, what's up?
How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you?
How's LA, man?
LA's great. There's no wind here today. The sun's out. This is why I live here, because you don't have to deal with winter or wind.
Right. I mean, growing up in Massachusetts, in Marblehead, Massachusetts, right?
Right. Marblehead is well represented today already. We've got Corkum, who's living in Salem.
Larry Kelly.
Right.
The memory of Jake Phelps.
You know, Jake Phelps is watching. And
you know what? Chances are Jake Phelps ain't watching my show. If anything, Jake Phelps, he's talking shit about me right now.
I mean,
Jake, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, like Jake was just somebody who I can't say I was ever friends with him.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't think anybody. There's very few people who can probably say that, but he was just one of those specters, especially growing up in Marblehead, and me being like what, probably a good 3 years younger than him. He was kind of like, the town terror, the town legend. Did you hear about like, oh my God, Jake once sterilized somebody with a skateboard?
Well, it's a great story. I forgot. Someone told me this, that he showed up in high school like wearing like a dress, and they didn't know what to do with him.
But lo and behold, he goes now.
I'm looking for now I didn't figure this out beforehand, but I got to find this photo of Jake in my van as we're heading down to New York. Where the hell is that?
I mean, it's funny in your Boston film, he's really one of the stars of the show.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
In a psychotic way, yes.
Jake Phelps was classic, man. As soon as I went to interview him for that, like he started in with me and like wanted to fight me, like basically, like as soon as I showed up, like to interview him, he started getting into it with me, and it was like, bro, what are you talking about, man? Like,
right?
Lord, God, I want to find this photo so bad. Oh, here it is. Is it SSD Control Irving Plaza? Could that be it? When we drove down? Yeah. I got photos, and we came down from, or is it Minor Threat SSD Irving Plaza? Where the hell did those? More shall be revealed.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, wait, let me give it one more second. What else did? Well, I got photos, man, from crazy shit. Anyway, all right. Snap out of it. Let me snap out of it. I'll So born and raised in Marblehead, Mass.
Right.
Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your orbit?
I mean, from musical household, if you count, my parents' Helen Reddy and Barbra Streisand 8 tracks, I guess. No, I mean, how I was lucky enough, and probably some of this came through going to a record store / head shop in Marblehead, and because they had a comic book rack, and as I'm pulling like issues of giant size Spider-Man, and we're talking probably like oh god, like mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking up on the wall, and there's the Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell cover by Richard Corbin, and going, holy shit, that's awesome. Or like the Frank Frazetta Molly Hatchet covers. So there was like this sort of like very quick link from, the sort of like fantasy, comic, like being 10 years old and trying to read, Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune, which is a feat in itself. But also it's something connected to music. And, all of a sudden the world, I think in that moment, the world gets bigger. And I think that you take that, you eventually discover, classic rock, and then new wave. And then, eventually, because I'm going to Newbury Comics at the time, when Newbury Comics just really, carried comics. But at the time, like, I'm going there, and you start seeing these 7-inches and these albums in your face, and they're cooler. There's something more sort of like in your face and kind of like tangible and visceral than that Styx record. and all of a sudden, you know, you find, you know, you see this, and the world changes, because that's a perfect example of like, you know, all of a sudden you realize like the world is in your hands, and you are sort of.
I wish I still have my copy of that.
Right? How much? It's like what, like a $1,400 record now?
I'm thanked on it and everything. I don't have a copy.
Let's go there. Let's go there.
Is it? It's on the back, right?
Yeah. Look, there you are.
Nice.
There you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That's it. I was in the mix, man.
You're in my mix.
That band changed my life, you know.
Yeah.
Did you get out? I mean, at what point did you venture out to like, do you remember like who did you go see live that was like, wow?
I mean, I think it was probably a combination of the Ramones at Salem State College, which was, you know, just a few miles from where I grew up, and also because Salem State had a radio station called WMWM, and you had disc jockeys like Ed Walters and guys like Chris Corkemon. All of a sudden, I was hearing, you know, all the Boston stuff, all the California stuff, you know, like bands like, you know, Ism from New Jersey.
I still see once in a while. I see Jism from Ism once in a while, you know, wandering around. He's a character, man, for sure.
John Higley Jr., Jody, what has Jody done?
Yep.
I still need a copy. That's a record I need a copy of still.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like seeing the Ramones, you know, but even seeing something like, you know, the Joe Perry Project playing Marblehead High School.
Oh, wow.
You know, yeah, and it just, you know, you again, rock becomes self-determinate, you know, and in your grasp, and also just very like in your face, and then you get hardcore, and you start seeing, you know, magazines like, hold on, you know, you start finding things like this.
There you go.
Glenn Friedman's My Rules. And all of a sudden you're like, you know, like, okay, that's the standard. That's the standard for rock and roll performance.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck yes, I'm in. You know? Again,
that's the standard. A guy like Albert with no regard to his physical well-being whatsoever, just flying through the air and smashing himself.
Right. I mean, it eradicates Supertramp.
Oh, Breakfast in America, right?
Oh Jesus, yeah. Was it Breakfast in?
Yeah. Take a look at my girlfriend. She's the only one I got. Ah!
Oh God, it's like, yeah. At first you're like, oh.
You know, I kind of forgot about Supertramp and how much I fucking hate them. I might have to add them. I have an ongoing list here, like Billy Joel, Phil Collins, Styx. You know, I might have to put, you know, Supertramp, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's like I tried to watch that. There's a Rush documentary on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched that.
I went there and I fell asleep in about 30 minutes.
Listen, man, those documentaries like that one and the Eagles one, what we call them in the business, those are like, they're called Valentines. You know, they're or puff pieces.
Yeah.
You know, they're made. The band is involved in it. You know, it's just one kind of take on it. You know, but you know, I made it through the Rush one and the Eagles one, but there's other ones I've seen that are just unwatchable because the band, you know, what's I saw one like the Chicago one. I saw the Chicago one, and like those dudes, it's so tailored to like, you know, we're not going to talk about this guy. We're not going to. It's just like it's the three horn players, you know, like.
I could not think of anything I wouldn't want to watch as much as a Chicago documentary.
Bro, you want to hear something crazy? I swear to God, people ask me like, "Yo, what band haven't you seen? What band would you like to see?" And I'm like, "I've never seen Chicago. I'd like to see Chicago." I mean, well, first off, I'm a Terry Kath fan. Terry Kath was the original Chicago guitar player who was incredible. Jimi Hendrix, you loved him, and Terry. I'm a fan of Terry Kath's guitar playing. Early on, he's the guy that killed himself, playing Russian, fucking around with a handgun with his roadie, and he died early on. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like, beyond that, All right, anyway.
I'll dig in.
Yeah. So early hardcore shows you might have went to that you remember? Oh, wait. Al Baril chiming in. My first concert was Chicago. There you go.
That explains everything.
Saturday in the park. You know what? You know who I can't cut any slack to? I'm sorry. Yo, fuck Peter Cetera. I can't cut Peter Cetera any slack. But the early Chicago shit's okay. So anyway, early hardcore shows?
I mean, seeing Minor Threat 82, 83, seeing the Misfits, towards the end, being able to catch. I mean, the thing, it's interesting because you and I have talked about sort of like that sort of 2-year generational difference.
Yeah.
And I firmly consider myself like a second generation Boston kid. Now,
interesting.
And that goes along with guys like Steve Verstein and Mark McKay.
Yeah. Right.
And we were lucky enough, it was all laid out for us. And we were lucky enough to catch, the great bands, some of them at their peak, some of them on the way out. But we were able to sort of witness like the ones that really, really were like the absolute pillar bands. So that, but I think that the thing that went beyond that was we also got to see music, we also got to see not only guys having picked up guitars a few years before, but we also got to see them moving forward as musicians. We got to see like, here's Black Flag going from being like, an insanely great, rock band, punk band, whatever they were, because they occupied their own space, to side two of My War. And
I mean, that was a pivotal record, but yeah, I mean, early Black Flag with Dez and the early stuff, and then they kind of pivoted. Yeah. And I guess even, I mean, I won't say for a second generation guy like you, but you kind of, you were kind of right there when sort of like the Gangrene guys kind of pivoted, and also the early Mighty Boss Tones when they sort of pivoted with what was their Cheapskates, right?
Who I think the first time I saw them was opening for the Big Boys, which is no, at the club it was at the club in Cambridge.
Right. Got to shout out our boy Cavalera. What's up, man? You came up when we were talking in the pre-show, Igor. I hope you're well, buddy.
All right. It's been too long since we've talked.
Yeah, I love Igor, man.
That's
one of my favorites, man. Love you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about the Misfits, and that's going to come up again. But I came up and played when I was when I went back to New York. I came up and played with the Misfits at the Channel at this show, which was the second to last show that they played with Glenn, or the third to last show. It was the Misfits, a band called the Blackouts, which I sort of don't remember, and the High and the Mighty, which I guess in Boston and billing at the time, the High and the Mighty featuring Drew Stone, which is kind of. Do you remember that? Were you at that show?
I may have been at that show. I did see the earlier channel show with Jerry's Kids and the Freeze and the FUs.
Right. And talk about Steve Rustine. This is a photo that Steve Rustine sent me a couple of years ago of me singing for the High and Mighty and us opening for the Misfits at the channel. And yeah, Steve snapped a couple of photos. Well, that earlier show you're talking about, the show that's the show that with all the footage that was shot, right? The FUs. Listen, that Jerry's Kids set is incendiary.
Jerry's Kids, you know, I'm gonna sort of I'm jumping into something we talked about earlier. Please. You know, you said sort of like who are the great overlooked Boston bands? And Jerry's Kids, not that they're overlooked per se, but I think they don't get the credit fully due them for being as just magnificent a band as they were. I mean, they were, in some ways, they were our Black Flag, like disciplined, like just personal and gut-wrenching. And like, you know, Bob Sensi, a phenomenal musician. Brian Betzker, like playing fills. It felt like he was playing fills like from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Rick and his brother Brian before him, really, you know.
Well, that's what I remember. I remember the early Jerry's Kids shows of them at the Media Workshop when Brian was singing, you know, and but that record, Is This My World, is just incendiary. And when I did the research, when I got back into it to do the Boston hardcore film, that's going back, you know what, that's 10 years ago I did that film. But up until then, you know, there was sort of let's just say there was a period where I wasn't listening, you know, to that stuff all the time. So I was revisiting it, and wow, the one record that holds up and crushes to this day is This My World. I think
that's the best Boston hard. I mean, well, actually, okay. I have three things that kind of tie up in my mind. But
top three early Boston hardcore records.
Okay, now I'm going to put SSD in a class of their own.
Oh, it's like that, huh?
It's like that. We all acknowledge that Get It Away was sort of, you know, our out of step. Okay, our in pain, or you know, like it was that key record. But if you're talking about like, and especially maybe these are records that maybe didn't get like full love due. Jerry's Kids, Is This My World? Siege, Drop Dead Demo, like, you know, and Siege is a band that's probably gotten more, you know, love and respect sort of in the rear view than at the time. But that's a record I put on probably Demo Now a record that I put on probably once a month at least, and it still has that charge.
Wow.
And I think I also think the Last Rites recordings, which to me, you know, that is in some ways Jack's like finest recorded moment.
Well, Last Rites, wasn't that a 7-inch?
It was a 7-inch, but there's I want to say there's six songs,
right?
And you know, I mean, it's Chunks and So Ends Our Night, sort of
right. Yeah, that's what I remember. That was on Tang. Wasn't it like the first Tang release? Or something real early.
It was like Gangrene was number one, and Last Rites was number two.
Right.
But you know, you look at like you go deeper in some of those songs, and those songs were on the Negative. There's a CD with
I got it.
Effects and all that. There's some Minor Threat. You know, there's musically, there's some comparable moments to say Minor Threat.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, there's our friend Steve Rustine checking in, formerly of Slapshot. Yeah, Steve, I had to show one of your pictures, and thank you for sending me those a couple years ago. Like, it's always exciting and mind blowing when somebody's like sends me pictures of the band I was singing in, you know, 39 years ago. so that's yeah. Orion from Ake, Brooklyn represent. Siege is one of my all-time favorite bands. That's true. You know. Hey, just for the record, my top three Boston hardcore records would probably be Get It Away.
Yep.
Listen, I gotta say, Get It Away. The Kids Will Have Their Say, because I was just so wrapped up in that. But Jerry's Kids, Is This My World? And you know what? Also, I mean, really resonated for me.
The Vile record.
This is Boston, not L.A.
Of course, yeah. I was going to say. You mean the Vile record? Sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love, you know who just popped in my head that I loved back then too? And they had a record, and they were different. They were sort of a little too cool to hang out. You know, like they sort of tried to keep separated from us, like hardcore subhumans. Was Stranglehold. I like Stranglehold.
Oh yeah, they were Boston Stiff Little Fingers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they were cool.
And look, I would also give a lot of love and respect to DYS Brotherhood, because
well, somebody just mentioned. Where did I just see that? Hold on. That somebody mentioned. Yeah. Hey, Sean. The second DYS record.
Well, okay.
I like that record, man. Smalley pulled it off.
So I have so in my boxes of my tubs of the live recordings and demos and all that.
Tubs and tubs.
Tubs and tubs. I have a recording of them at the Paradise.
Oh wow.
And I believe it was they were playing with negative, what was basically like sort of Negative Approach, which was John Brennan and Scabs, basically.
Wow.
But it was good. And it's DYS sort of like at that mark right between Brotherhood and the quote unquote metal record. And if there was ever like that sweet spot that went completely unrecorded, it was at that moment. But the thing I wanted to say about DYS also is like, as much as like SSD were the flag wavers for Boston, and they were they were our band. DYS was inclusive, and I think that's why they struck a nerve with so many people. And I think that's something that that's still kind of Dave's message. And you felt like when you went to see DYS, or even when you hung out with Dave or Jonathan, they were welcoming in a way that some of the Boston crew bands weren't. They're just like excellent people who I think brought a lot of us in.
Well, Smalley is a Smalley's a kind soul. He just wants everybody to get along. He's really Dave is a good guy. He just wants everything to be okay in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and you also can't overlook him on the first Dag Nasty record.
Yeah, he's great on that.
That performance is like let's write the blueprint.
It's incredible. I mean, I've talked about this before, man, and life is like that, right? It's like being a part of that early Boston hardcore scene in 1981. I look around and I would see people around me, and as a teenager, it's interesting how there were some people that I thought had incredible star power and incredible charisma, and I thought, for sure, this guy's going to be a superstar. And then there were other people that were just didn't seem to have anything going on for them, and I couldn't imagine anything happening with them. And as life turns out, it's incredible that someone like Springer, who was incredibly charismatic, was incredible front man, really sort of flitted his life away after SSD Control and never really got anything together. A guy like Jake Phelps, who, listen, you're going to tell me that dude's going to do anything with his life in 1981? Guy went on to be the editor of Thrasher magazine, God rest his soul, and do a lot of great things. So it's so interesting who, in the end, and what are the elements that it takes? There's so many different things that come into play.
I mean, think about somebody like Jay Mascis from D.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a perfect example of someone who you never quite saw that coming, but it came and it stayed, and it's still great.
Yeah, Jay, you're friends with those guys, Jay and Scott, right? Scott Helland.
Scott, I'm a lot closer with. I was always a huge Outpatients fan. That's another underappreciated band. And probably one of like the first real crossover bands.
Yeah.
And sort of grabbed onto Motorhead and
Yeah.
Tank and all that.
Mhm.
Jay I bump into occasionally, and I'm probably still more. I'm more of a fan than a friend, but
Yeah, but I got to give it up for Jay. Jay Mask is he still is connected to his hardcore roots
oh,
and still really and still really loves it. Let's talk about this a little bit. I know you're going to shows, you're getting into it, and then at a certain point, you launch XXX fanzine. Tell us about and look with the outpatients on the cover, with the outpatients, Jerry's Kids on the cover. Tell why, how did this come to be?
okay. So I'm going to record stores and I'm going to shows, and things like this are getting into my hands, right?
Oh hell yeah!
And or wait a second, didn't this show happen in your dorm room?
That show right that I think that picture is taken at Gallery East, but the night before we did a show. We snuck government issue, and with government issue we played the Freeze. We signed everybody into the Fensgate dorm at Emerson and went up to the student lounge, and these bands played the student lounge. It was nuts. It was nuts.
Dude, that's mind blowing. I that's one of those, like, I wish I was at that one. So basically what happened is, I was seeing like Forced Exposure. I was finding early issues of zines like Flipside. I was learning, so like again, it's that sort of immersive learning experience where you're like, I was fiending for information at that point. Now, one of the pivotal things that led to me doing a zine, was there was another nerdy Jewish kid from the North Shore named Al Quint, who had a zine called Suburban Punk, and this isn't even Xerox. This is I think this issue is mimeographed. Remember mimeographing?
Yeah, wasn't that like Xeroxing? No.
No, it was even like you had to sort of run something off on like a drum.
Oh yeah, it was like
Yeah, totally primitive, right?
Yeah.
And I forget exactly how and when I met Al, but I would start to see this zine, called Suburban Punk, and I was like realizing, well, wait a second, if this guy, who ultimately became a really close friend, and we're still close friends to this day, if this guy can do it, well, I can do it. And that sort of led me, there we are, two handsome Hebrews.
Where is that with the stuff in the background? Does that look like a comic book convention? What is that? What is that?
Let's say that.
Was that the release for your book?
Yeah, that was at the book release party.
Okay.
The fanzine book release party once in Somerville.
Got it.
Which was headlined by the Proletariat. Oh
yeah, that's another band that was great. Not a hardcore band, but they were awesome back in the day, and they got love. They, even guys like Al Baril and SSD Control put them on bills with them. They were cool, man. The Proletariat were awesome. They were great.
I mean, for me, that was my gateway to bands like Mission of Burma and
Right.
Gang of Four and The Fall.
Right. Yep.
And our friend Kevin Seconds came all the way from Sacramento to Boston to play that show as well.
So I think this. Oh no, this is a gig this isn't an issue of the fan. This is
one
show you were promoting, right?
So that was a number. Yeah, I mean, as time went on, I started helping to book and promote hardcore shows at various venues in the Boston area. And I think this was looking at this was probably 1987. And aside from a great Jerry's Kids show, a great Toxic Reasons show, I was lucky enough to help book and promote the first Boston appearance of Voivod. Ironically, it's a band that I'm working with a bit, at Century now.
That's awesome.
And, you know, and still, I think one of the most mind-blowing bands that ever, you know, existed.
Very influential band.
Yep, totally. And they came and played Teachy the Bears with Creator. Now imagine that, like, you know, Teachy the Bears was just what, maybe 200-300 people fit in there.
Yeah, it was a pretty small place.
We bought in Creator on, I think that was probably on the Roar record.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, just Primal Voivod, and then we have Nuclear Assault, and
our boy Danny Lilker, yeah.
Boy Danny Lilker, who is, you know, a life, you know, committed to the grind lifelong, and is still, you know, as cool and as mellow and as into it as he ever was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was lucky enough to, you know, help book and promote, you know, shows like these.
Now you started the fanzine. The fanzine was rolling along, and you were basically using the brand when it came to promoting shows.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I did. And, you know, because I also saw, like, let me see who's doing it. Like, you know, my buddy Sean Duffy in Chicago with his zine Last Rites.
Right.
You know, and I saw other people sort of employing their brands. So I guess it was an early and primitive form of branding. But, like, you know, I was lucky enough to work with bands like, you know, the Descendants. You know, super early into their touring career. Helped put on, you know, early Rollins band shows. You know, was lucky enough to book and promote the first Fugazi show.
Wow.
In the Boston area. And
where was that? Where did Fugazi play the first time in Boston?
At Green Street Station. And that was
this place. I don't know. I was gone by then. I don't know that venue.
It was in Jamaica Plain, and it was like a small, you know, bar.
Right.
But they did a lot of great shows, including, like, you know, the first time I ever saw Guar was there. And, you know, that was Guar with, like, paper mache and, like, you know, backdrops on like, you know, bed sheets.
Those guys really had those early on Guar shows. They had such a passion for what they were doing, man.
Yeah, I mean, and they turned that into such, you know, such a thing. But no, that first Fugazi show, it was before the first record was even out. It was in many ways, you know, confrontational. People didn't know what to expect. People still wanting to hear, you know, Minor Threat. Maybe they would have expected Embrace, but, like, all of a sudden, here's something that, like, is unique.
I like who's Larry Kelly. That Guar show was insane. Jamie from SSD Control was at that Guar show.
Exactly.
Guar was off the hook back then.
Slapshot. You know, it's funny if you look at, and I know we're going in, like, lots of little directions here.
It's okay. We ride the horse where it takes us on this show, man.
Good. Okay, so Slapshot actually had played with Guar at City Gardens in New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
And they were sort of like singing the Guar gospel early on. And it was on their recommendation that, like, everybody turned out to that show. And it was pretty awesome. I think, you know, the blood did stain at that one.
Yeah. You know, here's our good friend Astoria Lou. First time I met Gitter is when Breakdown played a gig at the Rat in 1989. AJ from Leeway was filling in with Breakdown, and I was asked to go. After the gig, Mike took us to Newbury Comics. I guess like a pilgrimage to Newbury Comics for any band that would come to town was sort of par for the course, huh?
Of course, yeah. I mean, and it was, you know, you gotta take your friends to Newbury Comics.
I always liked Mike Drees, man. Mike Drees was always cool with me, man. I always liked Mike Drees.
I mean, yeah, he's. I mean, if you really think about it, like, think of the impact of that store, and ultimately that chain of stores on the area, and how much music was, you know, passed over that desk, and how it influenced like thousands upon thousands of people.
Yep. Is that right? Sean says, I think Sam Black Church played their first show ever opening for that Green Street Guar gig, if I remember correctly.
Holy sheep shit! I think you're right.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy sheep shit. All right.
There was definitely a Green Street. I remember seeing. I thought it was it was their first or second show. It was at Green Street Station. Probably was that Guar show.
So you know what? Let's. Hey, while we're in the spirit of skipping all over the place,
Of course.
You know.
You
know. So, and while we're on the subject of the fanzine, this book was put out a couple years ago by our good friend Chris Wren at Bridge 9 Records, and this is an awesome book. It's
Thank you.
It's thick, it's heavy, and it's basically all the XXX fanzines sort of reimagined, right? It's reprinted with some additional interviews. Tell us a little bit about this project.
Okay, so that was a project that I owe. Thank you. The good book. I owe Chris Wren the world for that. And I think he's still sitting on probably 1,000 copies in his new warehouse.
No, they're actually in his mother-in-law's basement. He told me.
Well, make sure the washing machine doesn't overflow.
Listen, what happens eventually with these things? They sell eventually.
Oh yeah. No, but Chris had approached me to do it probably 7 or 8 years before. At that point, I was sort of like, preoccupied with some other things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And there came a point right after I had moved to California where I was like, you know what, I want to go down this road. You don't know why you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately, I realized like, well, there's a story to tell here, but I think we do these things to claim our space. We do it to say like, okay, here's where I exist in the framework of all of this. So with his help over the period of about 3 or 4 years, what started off as, hey, are we gonna, do you want to just collect all the fanzines? And my initial feeling about that was, God, no, because that's way too much like high school writing for anybody to have to read. So I started, going back and going like, okay, let's re-interview these people now. Let's give this a bit of perspective. And probably a couple of years into working on the book, as additional interviews came in, as additional pictures and visuals came in, well, I realized what we had was a portrait of music in motion. And it's what I just discussed about before, in that 6-year span of time, you didn't have just the end of the first wave of hardcore. You had, movements. You had the crossover. You had Youth Crew. You had, the rise of indie rock. You had people like, Corrosion of Conformity coming out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and becoming, going through several phases as a band.
Wait, I got a quick segue.
Sure.
Here's a shot of Corrosion looking at the book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. That was them. It was a Danzig, I think, Blackest of the Black festival. Right that was actually even before the book came out. That was, I think, in 2016.
And that's Pepper on the left, who wasn't in the band in the late 80s, right? But on the right is Mike Dean, who was, correct?
Right, and the infallible Woody Weatherman.
That's who's. Okay, I didn't recognize him.
Yeah, and COC, like there are definitely some bands in the book. COC, from their early days to even now, is a band that has sort of been in my life. I'm actually working on a couple of projects with them right now.
Is that right?
Yeah, we'll be hearing about those soon.
I think Pepper's a very talented guy, and he really reimagined that band when he joined it, man, for sure.
He took the ball, he ran with it, he expanded the scope of it, and he took, three other great players, including Reed Mullen, who, God rest his soul, and have made them an important and just great rock band, American rock band.
Yeah.
And they're still, the thing I love about them is they're still the same guys. And what's really interesting is while I was working on one of these to be revealed projects, I ended up talking to Woody's mom. And as I talked to her, because I had spent a lot of time with those guys. I actually used to stay I had a few times where I went down to Raleigh and stayed for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Go out of town, and they play in DC, or they play in Richmond. Like I was sitting there talking to Woody's mom, going, "Now I understand." And they particularly, Reed, if you think about it, really opened up, hardcore, and hardcore, et cetera, to the American South.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they were, when you thought in those early days, when you thought of that, geographic area of the United States, like every city kind of had their heart. They were, that was it. COC. And you know what? They used to come up to New York and play some friggin' killer CBGB's matinees. I mean, when I was in we played with them. They were early on. They, like in those early days, they came up to New York and they crushed a couple of CBGB's matinees. They were awesome.
The first time I ever saw them was with, I believe it was with D.O.A. At the YMCA in
Nice.
Back Bay. And D.O.A. is a formidable band.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Oh, that reminds me. I love these segues you lead me to, bro. This is really happening. There's a real synchron. This is really happening today. What's going on here, bro?
Well, that was 1983. Rock Against Reagan. Rock Against Reagan.
Rock Against Reagan. Yeah, buddy. How come we never had like Rock Against Trump or anything? It's Rock Against Reagan.
I'll credit Dan O'Mahony with this. I think there was a post he came with, a few months ago in the heat of like the worst of Trump, where it was just, I miss Reagan. But yeah, that was on the Boston Common, 1983, Rock Against Reagan, and that's Dave Gregg from the very awesome and important D.O.A. right in front of a nonplussed, smiling Jewish kid.
I would think maybe one of our Boston friends can hit me to this, that might have been the first time that D.O.A. came back to Boston after the infamous show that they played at Cantone's when we tore the roof down and the Boston riot police came. Yeah. I would assume that was the first time they returned to Boston.
Yep, it actually was.
They were great, man. They crushed. Dave, with that lineup with Dave Gregg and Joey, they were great. And
we can't, you can't underestimate their importance. If there was ever a band that not just blazed the trail, but like carved it out themselves.
Oh, for sure.
Them, maybe probably Black Flag immediately afterwards.
Oh, these are the trailblazers.
Yeah.
Black Flag, D.O.A., the Misfits.
The Misfits, yes. Although I think
the Misfits in so much with their marketing.
Yeah, I mean they understood how to sell a brand and sell an image and make it fun and make it cool. And that was Glenn's brilliance back then. But I think, Dead Kennedy, you can't sleep on Dead Kennedys.
You can't, Minor Threat and the whole Discord thing.
Yeah, I mean, Minor Threat did
which filtered down. I mean, it was all one influenced by the other, right? You had Black Flag that was influencing Minor Threat, that was influencing, it was sort of all filtering down.
Right. I mean, I would also bring up the Circle Jerks in there as well, who are also, pretty fundamentally road warriors. And they're going to come back this year.
You know what? They were all set, ready to go, and this thing hit, man.
Yeah.
You know, and I had Keith was going to come on the show, but everything got pushed back. So I got to get Keith on the show. But that said, moving forward, at what point? So you have the fanzine. I know, like for instance, when I told Tristan DeGraves from who plays with me in Antidote, NYHC, that you're coming on, he said, man, the stuff that he wrote for he's a big skateboard guy. The stuff that Gitter wrote for Thrasher magazine back in the day was like the portal and my connect, you know, how I learned about all this stuff. So how did it go from having like a local fanzine to you writing for like Thrasher and Rip and eventually Tower Records Pulse? Tell us about that.
Well, don't forget Kerrang and eventually even Rolling Stone.
Excuse me.
There you go. No, I mean everything's linear. Everything's linear. Nothing's planned. It's all accidental. I also started writing for a magazine or newspaper in Boston called Boston Rock.
Oh yeah, of course.
One day got a call from a guy named who I didn't know. I didn't know who he was, but Danny Fields.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Who I know signed the Stooges and the MC5 to Elektra. Managed the Ramones, and was editing a couple of magazines in New York at the time. Called me and asked me if I wanted to write a story on Black Flag, because
there you go.
Cover story I had done on Black Flag for Boston Rock. Now around the same time, I'm also friendly with and trading records with Pusshead, who was the music editor for Thrasher. And who was nothing but insanely kind to me and said, "Hey, do you want to write for Thrasher?" And I was like, "Well, I don't skateboard." And he's like, "Fine, you don't have to skateboard. You just write about the rock." And I wrote for Thrasher from 1986 to about 1993. In fact, in our show and tell, oh, here we go. The first article I ever wrote for Thrasher. This would be the March 1986 issue.
Oh, nice.
And that's little Chuck Stilfen from Schmegma and the Nuns.
Peter with a rake.
A very blonde Chris Doherty.
I actually remember that. What was the cover? Let me see the cover. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. March what? What was the date? March what?
March 1986.
Wow, that's awesome, bro.
So that one thing led to another, and like I said, everything is linear.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough to continue writing about bands that I either knew or wrote about in XXX, and these started snowballing into like, Danzig, or the Rollins Band, or the Descendants, or a band whose singer I had inadvertently met at a Black Flag show in 1983 called White Zombie.
Yeah.
Who moved to who, it's funny, it's like Rob still apparently has the first issue of XXX.
Rob Zombie from Haverhill, Massachusetts.
Haverhill, Massachusetts.
Who else was from? Who else was from Haverhill?
No.
Bob White. God rest his soul.
God rest his soul. Bob White is a Boston original.
Man, that one still stings, man. He was such a unique character, and God damn, man, he was such an incredible personality. Fuck.
He was like the classic outlier that was as cool, if not cooler, than everybody else.
He was a misfit among misfits.
Very much so. Why didn't he have a band?
I don't.
That's another superstar, Bob White.
Yeah.
Can we find a picture of him?
Oh, I got pictures of me. Oh yeah, I got pictures of Bob White for sure. I got pictures of me and Bob White. Hold on.
Okay. Because he was like this like Dave Vanian-esque.
Oh yeah. Oh, here's a shot of me and him just before he passed away.
And the Danzig, Bob, the
There's
Danzig.
a shot of me and him right pretty much, I don't know, a couple months before he passed away.
Okay.
So, but he was a piece of work, man.
But he was like I remember him. He was kind of one of those guys like Jake.
Yeah.
Like, just a real like.
Jamie says he said he had no musical talent.
Well, so.
Yeah, right.
Who was that stop?
Oh, you too.
But yeah, he was. I mean, he was a rock star who should have been.
Yeah, he was classic, man, and he was a tortured soul. But so at what point I gotta take a sponsor break in a couple minutes. But sure. At what point, how do you go from doing all this writing to, hey man, do you want an A&R job? How does that happen?
Well, again, as I said before, because everything is linear and everything is connected, I'm in, and you go back to sort of the early 90s when record companies had money and were flying journalists around. I was coming back from LA, having interviewed White Zombie. On the same flight, I bumped into a guy named Jason Flom.
Oh yeah, sure.
Was the head of A&R at Atlantic Records. I also knew his fiance at the time was Wendy Berry. Profile.
Oh wow, I haven't heard that name in a minute.
Right, and she worked at Profile / Rock Hotel Records. So when I would go there to interview, be it the Cro-Mags or Leeway or Murphy's Law, Wendy was always super cool to me, and we rapped and it was good. So, Jason and I got to talking, and over the course of that flight back from LA to New York, which I had moved to New York by that point, we started, he was asking me to rattle off some bands I was into, and it was stuff like The Obsessed and Godflesh and Helmet and all of these bands that sort of came up and were starting to come to prominence in the wake of Nevermind. And that's what, I will always say, like, Nevermind hit and we all got cool new jobs.
Yeah.
And,
it ushered in the new guard.
Correct. Yeah. And somehow I've been doing it for the past 27 years. Knock on wood.
Jason Flom, for those that may not know, signed Twisted Sister.
Right.
What's that?
And Zebra.
Yeah. but I love his Twisted Sister like story. How like he how hard it was for him to get them signed, and how everybody hated that band, and he really believed in them. And push that through in the end,
That's a great documentary. I mean, and before you do the break, it was interesting because the first band I signed there was Jawbox, which is another sort of through line to my past, the past chapters of my life, having been fronted, they were and actually still are. Fronted by Jay Robbins, who I met when he was the bass player in Government Issue.
That's right. So these roots run deep, and these influences carried on. Like you said, a lot of these first wave, hardcore bands, the guys, moved on to other, musically to other things, and in his case, Jawbox.
Yep, and he's still one of the most talented musical and kind of souls, out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I want to take a break here and do some sponsor stuff. Do what you need to do. Have a sandwich. Go take a whiz. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we will continue, and we'll talk about your A&R career. Thank you. Well, there you go. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, Your Core Hardcore Fan Page, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Chacho's Tacos, and, of course, New York Hardcore Comics. New York Hardcore Comics opened back in 2013 when lifelong friends D.O.A, Pro, and Lee Fraley combined their collections and obsessions for comic books, punk rock, toys, statues, the magic, and all things horror. The store is located at 117 Main Street in lovely Dobbs Ferry, New York. Doing all this from memory now after 110 shows. If you want to support them during this pandemic, please contact them via email at newyorkhardcorecomics@gmail.com. Also, while we were at it, shouting out hard Vlad at the Organic Grill. It's a vegan restaurant located at the East Village of New York City at 123 First Avenue. Featured in New York Magazine, the New York Times, and Veg News. Their dishes have won numerous awards, including Best Veggie Burger. They make their own cheeses, sausages, and burger patties, and every dish on the menu can be made gluten-free for all you gluten-free motherfuckers. This year, they're celebrating their 20th anniversary, and they're all about having a great time while enjoying amazing, clean food. After 3 months of being closed, they're now open for deliveries. Get in touch with them. Order some great food at www.theorganicgrill.com. Also, New York City restaurants are open at 50% starting this Friday. So things are opening up here. 50%, what's happening? I want to bring one of our sponsors on. We haven't heard from him in a minute. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Joe Ramini and Vinny Stigma's cousin down in Texas at the Texas Silver Rush. What's up, bro?
Hey, Drew, thanks for having me on board. How are you doing?
I'm good. What's happening in Texas, man?
Man, it's opened wide up. It's like life's got back to normal, so it's exciting. It's we're in the middle of spring break right now, and town is packed. It's just people from all over the state and all hanging out.
That's great, man. And so there's no restrictions. People don't have to wear masks or anything.
No restrictions whatsoever. The governor's fighting a little bit with Austin. Austin wants some more limitations, and they're trying to impose some more mandates, but that's neither here nor there. 99% of Texas, no mask, no anything. Restaurants, 100% capacity. It's just full blown, wide open.
Well, good for you, man. I'm happy to hear that, and just thrilled that things are opening up again, and
absolutely
that after a year of this, we're all just looking forward to getting out there. There's some events coming up, music's making its way back. So I guess that you guys are having music there and like, just like it used to be, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all the venues are again wide open. We just had a major show with 4,000 people at one of our venues here the other night. We've got a big show coming up next week that we're actually the sponsor of. So we've got a lot of things going on. I actually saw Agnostic Front was tickets were on sale for Agnostic Front for a show in a couple of months.
Down there?
No, not down here. I don't know where it was at. I just signed I'm going so I could buy tickets and be there. But yeah, I saw that they announced the show for AF.
Hey, our good friend
I want to say it's back up. I want to say it's back up in New York somewhere.
Okay. Our friend Lori Dawn says, "Hey Joe, love the new pieces at the Texas Silver Rush. Give us a quick Texas Silver Rush update."
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Lori Dawn. Yeah, we actually, I want to tell you, Drew, a lot of your following, they're great people, and they've come over and they've been following with us, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Listen,
Lori Dawn, her art is.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Her art is amazing. So what's going on with the Texas Silver Rush? We're getting ready to do a tour with Santana in South America. So we're working on some new design work. There you go. Lori Dawn art. There you go. And so, and she does some amazing things. So we're in the middle of a design season right now. We've got a couple of tours that are coming up that we're designing jewelry for. We cracked the code, Drew. We cracked the Facebook code. We're going to have a Facebook store.
Nice.
To support our website. We're going to have a Instagram store to support our website. So yeah, it took us a couple of months, but we cracked the code.
That's tough.
We're designing, we're open, we're designing, and we're just going 90-0, enjoying life.
Good. And listen, when things get a little looser, you have to come up to New York and hang out with us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Vinny and I were talking last week, I think it was, for about an hour or so. And so we're definitely looking forward to being up there. My cousin TJ also has a company called Amaretti Cappuccino Importing Company. So TJ and Vinny and I, we'll all get together. Drew, all of us will eat, we'll hang out. listen to some music, do whatever. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and hanging out.
For sure, man. And we'll come up. We'll have Vinny take us to the local place down near Little Italy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing Vinny was saying. It was like, Joe, this has just killed me. He goes, because my whole culture is the restaurants and the bars. He goes, I got my crew at this bar, I got my crew at that bar, and yeah. So I'm glad to see New York City opening back up. And you know what, the organic grill, I want to go there. I'm vegan, so I am totally looking to forward to meeting Vlad and eating at Organic Grill.
Yeah, same thing with Vlad and Organic Grill. So many people from the show, go in there now and connect with them. So, we have this going on, this community and this culture. And hey, look, I just want to thank you again. You're one of my oldest and sponsors. Just thank you for your support from the beginning. It's your support is really what makes this show, makes me able to do this goddamn show. So thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to leave you with one thing real quick, and you're welcome. Thank you. It's been great. Just one thing, though. So we actually are building a Patreon page, kind of following your lead. And one of the things that we're doing is, anybody that comes on at a certain level, you can do whatever the hell you want. You come on, you support us on our Patreon page, and we're going to have some fun. So we're following your lead a little bit, Drew. Thanks for having me on today, bro.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon, Joe.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care.
Bye. Well, there you go. Joe Rumini, Vinny Stigma's cousin. Down in Texas. So that's the Texas Silver Rush. So good to see you, Joe, and thank you. Also, while we're at it here, I want to announce a new show. I have a brand new. Get your shoes and socks on, kids. It's right around the corner. Brand new show. Here we go. This is an interesting one. Wednesday, April 21st. Mr. Alex Mitchell from Circus of Power and old school New York hardcore A7 band Crucial Truth. So here we're going deep on this one. This is an old school New York hardcore dude. Crucial Truth was one of the first bands here in New York to get a 7-inch out on Rat Cage Records. He went on to form and do multiple records with Circus of Power. So Alex Mitchell coming on the show. Here we go. I know we got a lot of Circus of Power fans out there. Bob Riley up in Troy, New York, being one of them. So get ready for some Alex Mitchell. I also want to remind you, I know there's a couple lurkers out there. There is a Patreon page. Please support this show. Listen, man, let's be frank here. You think I like doing this shuck and jive? I don't. But that's part of what I have to do to keep this show moving. So please, I know there's a lot of lurkers out there. Because every once in a while I hear from someone who's like, yo, I've watched every show. I'm like, really? Who are you? You've never commented? Don't just be a taker your whole life. Join the Patreon page. There's also a PayPal address there. stone4124@aol.com. That's right. There's PayPal. Please contribute to the show. Please contribute to the show. So for sure. For sure. Circus of Power was on Morton Downey Jr. That was epic. There's lots to talk about with Alex. So what else? Penelope Spheres had done some Circus of Power videos. Drew, did you do? No, I did a later Circus of Power thing, but I didn't do any videos of them in their sort of glory days. I loved this band back in the day. And of course, our boy Zowie played bass. Zowie that was in Leeway and who sang for Cause for Alarm. Zowie played bass in Circus of Power after the first record. So there was like a very serious hardcore connection there. That said, So right. So there's the PayPal address. There's the Patreon address. I think that covers it. Oh, who else did I? Oh, I just want to mention again. I know a lot of you knuckleheads didn't realize that there was a time difference here in America on the East Coast. Yeah, man, come on. I saw that, Larry. Circus of Power, Faith No More. I didn't see it at Airport Music Hall. I think I saw Circus of Power, Soundgarden, and Voivod at the Ritz here in New York, if I remember correctly. Yo, Bob Riley, big Circus of Power fan, bro. I thought of you when we booked this. You know. That said, I want to reiterate that every week that we do not do a Wednesday show, like this coming week, there's going to be a special Patreon show. So it's going to be every other week. We do it sort of live here, but for all the patrons, every other week, when we actually seems like we're taking a day off, we're not. We're doing a special Patreon show for Patreons only. So join the friggin' Patreon page. Join the community within the community. There it is, www.patreon.com/Drew Stone. Also, there is a subscribe. If you're watching this in rerun, there's a subscription button. Please subscribe to the Stonefuls NYC YouTube page. And also below, underneath, there is a link for the merchandise. There's a merchandise line, including the A7 Back to the New York Hardcore Roots sweatshirt, T-shirt, and girly tee. Is that what they call it? Women's T-shirt, girly tee. But underneath there's a link. There's New York Hardcore. There's the mugs. There's the shower curtains. I know Steen's got one of those. And there is now the A7 compilation merch. I'm doing the white. I got the white shirt, the white sweatshirt, and the white girly tee. There's going to be some other stuff coming along upon the release by Pitchfork on April 27th. So enough of me talking about me. Let's bring our guests back on, and let's continue our journey. Is that right? You're wearing the shower curtain right now? That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, you knuckleheads. Yeah, the time changed. I know we got a lot of people in Europe, so I'm just goofing. So let's bring back on our friend, Mike Gitter. What's up, bro?
Hey. I actually, to be honest, I woke up, I was like, why is it still dark out? So you got to pay attention.
Hey, so let's do this. We started talking about our your A&R career. It ties in with our photo of the day. Let me bring on hardcore shutterbug, Mr. Steven Messina. Oh, what's that?
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, damn. What is that?
This was pretty cool. This was kind of an homage to the old school by some of the new school bands.
Is that right?
And my personal favorite thing on here is Walter Schreifel's doing an acoustic version of Society Sucker by Agnostic Front.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, this is really you've got bands like Shai Hulud covering Raw Power. You got American Nightmare doing the Cro-Mags, Riverboat Gamblers doing the Dicks. This is really cool piece of work right here.
Wow, I vaguely remember that. Chris Wren put that out, huh?
Yep.
That's
because
cool.
The idea was initially it was like, well, let's do a compilation, and yeah, but there's a lot of compilations, and why go through the pain in the ass of licensing tracks and all that? Why don't we have bands from now cover songs from then, with the discussion of like music is these songs are still alive. You know what I mean? These are why these bands are still important.
Mm-hmm.
And these are songs. And it actually came together pretty easily. In most cases, it was just like, hey, you want to do this? And a band like Strife would hand me a Void cover, or Nomads. Not only covered an Agnostic Front song, but they covered an Agnostic Front flyer. They did a 2-song medley, an AF song into a Crucifix song, which is that
cool.
famous Punks and Skins flyer that actually Todd Youth designed.
Yeah,
So yeah, I was super, I was super happy like that we approached it that way.
Good. Let's do this. Let's do photo of the day. Gitter, we let our people sort of run with it. So first, let's do photo of the day. Wrong answers only, please, and then we will make our way to the right answers, and we'll talk to Mike about this band. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. Hardcore Shutterbug photo of the day. Boom. So wrong answers only, please. Let's see what we got there. All you knuckleheads in Europe who are like an hour late for the show, I see people signing on.
Rubbing their eyes.
Oh, shit, the show's been on for an hour? You know? Okay, is this the Skinny White Boys? Is it Devo? Is it, let's see, is it New Edition? Is it Goldfinger? That's kind of good. That's kind of close. Is it Skinhead Metallica? Is it Gorillaz? Machine Gun Kelly? Come on. Oh, good one. Is it Four Non-Blondes? Is it Midnight Oil? We're getting close. Oh, is it Sugar Ray?
Yes.
Is it Sugar Ray? Is it Midnight Oil? Is it Eminem? Oh, good one, Astoria Lou. Is it Gutter Boy? Good one. Is it Right Said Fred?
He pops up a lot in these.
Got a couple. Is it Eminem's? Okay. Eminem. Is it Blur? Is it a shitty bowling team? Yo, kids, get off my lawn. Is it some hair metal band? All right. That's funny. Okay.
Let's see.
That said, hold on. Is it In Sync before they blew up? Good one. Oh, fuck. Okay. All right. Let's play it straight now, kids. Right answers only, please. Cast your vote. Who is this band of Skinny White Boys? Let's see. No, it's not Midnight Oil. We've determined it's not Midnight Oil. What was the Midnight Oil song? How could we dance? How could we sleep?
Beds are burning.
The beds are burning. Dude ended up being all right. Is it Civ? Is it Civ at the Limelight with Walter guesting on guitar? Is it Civ at the Limelight?
Wow,
is it Civ at the Limelight? Is it Civ? All right. Oh, that's Civ. Oh, that's Civ. Okay. Very nice.
That's Civ.
Oh, that's.
Is it? This is kind of funny. Is it Gorilla Glue biscuits? All right. What is this, Stephen?
Well, you had a lot of right answers there. That is Civ at the Limelight. And Walter actually wasn't in the band, but he jumped up and and they banged out a few GB songs. But this was one of my favorite Limelight shows ever. And this is 1995, and it was Sick of It All, Civ, and H2O. And this is just a killer show. I mean, this is such a fun show too.
And the Limelight was a great venue. I played there many times. Like the stage at the Limelight, playing the Limelight was great. You could see the balcony all around it. It was a really great venue to play in. They had a great sound system. I probably played the Limelight 15 times when we were doing the rock thing, the infamous rock thing, Wait, I got one more. That you sent me. This one's pretty
okay.
Cool. Here we go with one more. Boom. So,
sure.
Yeah. Now, the Limelight was great, for sure. HTO will always remind me of the Limelight. All right. So Mike, tell us a little bit. So this is CIV, and knowing a little bit about your history, you got involved with this band, and really put them on the map. And this segues into, at this point, you're with Atlantic Records. You signed Jawbox. How did these guys come into play?
So I mean, again, naturally and organically. I was at a show at CB's. It might have even been a helmet show. And Sammy, who I've known, since he was probably 13 years old, having put on early Youth of Today show, actually probably the first Youth of Today show in Boston, hands me a 2-song cassette of this thing called CIV, which is obviously, CIV from Gorilla Biscuits on vocals. And it's great. It's one song called Et tu Brute, which is like straight up Minor Threat, and another song called Can't Wait 1 Minute More, which is this, enormous, totally rhythmic, like Bow Wow Wow meets Adam and the Ants meets the, like just anthemic song. And the next day they were shooting the Can't Wait 1 Minute More video in Astoria, Queens, which is where I was living at the time. And I literally went down to the video shoot, and it was just like, damn, this is, this is on point, on its own steam. So come that Monday, I slide that tape to Jason Flom, and he has the same reaction that I did. And CIV was being managed at the time by Scott McGee, who was also managing Quicksand. Scott and Jason were old friends, and within a few days, CIV was signed to Atlantic Records. Now, I'm not sure who came first, them or Sick of It All. So CIV was either the first or second legitimate hardcore band signed to a major label.
Yeah, and just to the lineup there is, I think if I'm correct, it's Arthur.
Yep.
Anthony Civarelli. That's Charlie, who's been on. Actually, yeah, Charlie's been on the show, and of course, that's our boy Sammy Siegler. On the right. So yeah, half these guys have been on the show. I gotta get Arthur, and I talked to Anthony. I talked to Civarelli about coming on the show, and that's gonna happen. But this record really made a mark, and seeing the video was great.
Well, plus also remember, Wally was lurking in the background.
Yeah, right.
Having been the sort of, the Lee Hazelwood of the project. My man Lee Hazelwood. Having basically written, having written most of the songs, and actually I believe played on the record itself, which was produced by, none too unexpectedly, Don Fury. But yeah. He couldn't formally be part of the band given his label commitments to Quicksand and Island Records at the time. But yeah, goddamn, what a great, like, well-rounded and sort of like occasionally perfect record.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Walter was lurking, man. Walter had his hands in a lot. He still does. Walter's a very proficient musician,
and possibly the coolest person in rock and roll.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's pretty much up there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so well done, Stephen. That was kind of a good pick today, because once I saw what it was, I was like, well, yeah, why don't we all do that together? So that's cool.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything for Gitter?
No, just keep going. I'm enjoying this.
All right, we'll see you towards the end.
Come on.
Actually, you know what? The one thing I will say that you guys were talking earlier about Gwar. Mm-hmm. Our 5th show that we ever played, we opened up for Gwar, at the Roxy Music Hall.
Of course, Frank Ariola's Roxy.
That's right.
I think it's in Long Island, or is that Bayshore?
It was us, Bile, and the Skate Nigs and Gwar.
There you go.
It was a fun day.
All right, man. We'll talk to you in a bit.
Oh.
All right. So
Okay.
you're at Atlantic, right? Jawbox, excuse me, Civ. Let's talk about this a little bit, because this at the time was kind of a big-ish deal. Let's talk about this band a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I was always a fan. I loved the How Can Hell Be Any Worse record. I've actually grown to really love the Into the Unknown record, because it's, who doesn't want to hear a bunch of like 17-year-olds like reaching for Kansas, and putting their own spin on prog rock.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they're starting to play songs from that record live, like
Really?
Billy the Economy. According to Baker, they're bringing more songs in the set, so it's getting it Into the Unknown is getting its place in history. I
so regret not buying. I remember looking at the vinyl when it came out and like seeing a review, and I so regret not buying it on vinyl when it came out.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Well, that's the old story of like 10,000 went out and like 11,000 came back or something like that.
Yeah.
And they came back from that. Well, with the Back to the Known EP, but like with Suffer.
Yeah, which was great. That
sparked a whole another generation of punk rock in Southern California that still is vital today.
Yeah.
But I had heard, so I had caught wind that they were interested in leaving Epitaph.
But I'm a little confused by that, because wasn't Epitaph their label? It was Brett's label, correct?
It was Brett's label, and I think the feeling amongst them all, and I think this is also discussed in the recent biography, Do What You Want, was that they felt that they were putting a strain on Epitaph as a label, and almost needed to sort of get out of the way for some of the other artists, to go be hugely successful, which in the case of, The Offspring, Rancid, Pennywise, they all
Down
were.
by Law. By
Law, of course, yes. SNFU.
Yeah. Right.
So
The Offspring.
I said The Offspring, right?
Did you?
Anyway, enormously successful. And I had spoken to possibly their attorney, Eric Greenspan. I pulled Danny Goldberg, who was the president of Atlantic at the time, into the equation. He jibed with them. I was a huge fan, still am.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided probably experimentally to leave Epitaph and to go onto a major label.
And then they ended up doing a couple records and then going back where they came, right?
Yeah, I mean, which I think was healthy for them. I mean, we licensed a record called Recipe for Hate.
Yeah, that was a great record, man.
Phenomenal record.
Yeah, I love that record, man.
Stranger Than Fiction was the first proper record on Atlantic.
Right.
And it was actually the first record I had ever worked on that went gold.
That's great. So, this record went gold?
Yeah, this record has gone gold.
That's fantastic, man.
And I mean, at that point, Brett did part ways with the band for a while, bringing my old friend Brian Baker
from Minor Threat and Dag
Nasty,
and Junkyard. Ooh.
And Sam Hain for two practices.
Love those two Junkyard records he's on. Talk about Circus of Power. Love those two Junkyard records.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, come on. The Big Boys meets D-Crime meets Minor Threat.
Yep.
In Southern California, post Appetite for Destruction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. So you're on Atlantic. You also signed. I mean, I know you signed a bunch of stuff, but the stuff that's kind of on our radar screen here, Orange 9mm.
Yep. Worked with Orange 9. And again, that was just a case of like, loved Burn, always felt that they were a super unique band unto themselves. And I think that they connected a lot of dots, in the New York, not just hardcore scene, but I think in the New York underground, period end. And Orange 9mm was that right combination of all of them.
Yeah.
And, Chalk is an incredible frontman. Chris Traynor, is an incredible guitar player. The rhythm section was,
Chris Traynor now plays in Bush.
Yeah, he plays in Bush.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think, so I was involved with them for 2 records. The first record they made for East West rather than Atlantic,
which is a subsidiary of Atlantic.
At the time, it was subsidiary / probably sister label within the Warner's family.
Got it.
And that record, that first record, Driver Not Included, is as explosive as the lineup that made it.
Yeah, that's a beloved record. Yeah, for sure.
And I did another record with them on Atlantic proper called Tragic, which is it's a good record. It's a record that shows a band in transition. What's really interesting at that is a lot of the tracks that were used for it were actually the demo tracks that Dave Sardi initially recorded with the band.
Okay.
So it's got a very, very, very raw quality.
Let me ask you, who did you have A&R influences? Like I know that you were gracious enough. You appear in the film I directed. Who the fuck is that guy? The Fabulous Journey of Michael Lago, and as a I don't want to say up and coming, but when you were coming up as an A&R guy, were there any A&R guys that you really that influenced you, or you emulated, or you looked up to? And if so, who were they? I mean,
there still are A&R guys that I either work with or have worked with or know about. You never stop learning.
Yeah.
Alago is absolutely one of those people on the New York scene and landscape, because here's somebody who is probably one of the least mainstream people out there who completely changed the mainstream. And to me, that's his that's his punctuation. But I mean, there were people like Danny Fields before him. There were people like Frankie LaRocca, at Epic, who Frankie was involved with Prong. Michael Goldstone, obviously someone who I respected tremendously and still do. Rage Against the Machine, Pearl Jam.
Jason Flom, right?
Jason Flom, of course. I was like, Goldie signed Shudder to Think.
Right.
Obviously Jason Flom. All of the, the great thing about all of these people were they looked to the left to change the middle. And that, and I think that's been a part of, my journey as well. Even when I moved on to Roadrunner, worked very closely with Monty Cotter, who is a phenomenal, music guy.
Legend.
Yeah. I learned a ton from him. And it keeps.
I can't get him on the show.
Yeah, he.
I talked to him today. I told him you were coming on. I said, bro, anytime, I'd love to have you. And he's like, yeah, he's just not that guy, which I understand. He's a nice guy. He's a good guy. If you're out there, Monty, anytime, bro, we're here.
Right. Yeah, he's just one of those like great music guys, great soul. Like, he's an example of how we should behave and how we should be humble and grateful to still, to be able to do this.
Yeah, for sure. So moving on from Atlantic, you landed at Roadrunner. I certainly won't ask what, why an A&R guy goes from label to label. I mean, I'm sure we can
get fired.
Yeah, right. Do you get fired as an A&R guy? How does that work? Like what? You didn't sign enough bands or sold enough records? Is that what it comes down to? Like numbers?
I mean, Yeah, I mean, with Atlantic, I had gone through a period of having 5 different bosses in like 2 years. The label, the tenor of the label had changed from
I see.
being very sort of like rock driven to here's Hootie and the Blowfish.
Ah!
Exactly. So I was there for 5 years. I learned a lot. I accomplished a tremendous amount. They were very cool to me on the way out, and
Good.
within a few months, I was working at Roadrunner.
And let me just in the spirit of sort of moving things along, you go to Roadrunner, and you're during your tenure at Roadrunner, you sign Killswitch Engage, Il Niño, Megadeth, Opeth, and of course the Misfits. So you go on to Roadrunner to continue.
Right, and some of those are punk rock homies. Some of those are bands that were just undeniably great, and some of them, especially like in the case of say Killswitch, the music, which was dropped on my desk by Carl Severson, who was running Ferret Records at the time.
That's who they did their first release with, Ferret Records, right?
Yeah. Carl was working at Roadrunner.
Right.
I was just like, wow, this is like this insane combination of like Carcass, At the Gates, and the Cro-Mags.
An interesting sound they had, yeah.
Yeah, because there was nothing. I mean, you got to remember, you're coming off of like several years of like an overblown kind of like new metal thing going on, and here's something that is so like, I don't want to say original, but so refreshing in its earnesty. That was undeniable. And yes, Brian, thank you. Glassjaw was
I forgot that one. Sorry.
Another one that was in there. I actually ended up signing them twice, but I'm a repeat offender in the Glassjaw story.
That's kind of cool. Like, I signed them twice.
I'm a repeat offender, damn it. But in the case of Killswitch, the music just stood out so much, and it was so, like I said, so undeniable. And I went to see them play the Flywheel in East Hampton, Massachusetts.
Oh, there you go.
Very cool December night.
Now they are a Massachusetts band, correct?
Correct. Yeah, correct. And it really, if you look at like Mike D, the bass player, and sort of the guy who you would say, that was his band. Like Mike D was my main contact. Was probably a couple generations later in the coming out of the Boston Underground for me. Like, he was in Overcast, which Overcast is, a great underrated and sort of very influential band at that point. Scott, what's up?
What's up, Scott?
Speaking of Western Mass legends.
Speaking of yeah, Scott from the Outpatients and Deep Wound. What's up, Scott?
So I mean, basically, Killswitch was real good live, not great, but the music was incredible.
Is that right?
And it was one of those moments where you just go, I'm going to take a shot on this because I think it's all going to catch up and it's all going to turn into something. Now, I didn't anticipate Jesse Leach, parting ways with the band for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
What I really didn't anticipate was Howard Jones walking in and taking that bass and giving it a whole other, resonance and life that, propelled the band to gold for 2 records.
Yeah, that's a rare occurrence when a band like that, one really super talented singer leaves, another guy, relatively an unknown, walks in, and then the band starts going gold. That's pretty wild,
That's a Brian Johnson, Bruce Dickinson moment.
Yeah. Here's a band that really resonates, with me, and we talked about them a little bit in our people. What were the circumstances behind this signing?
So I was friends with Alago, and obviously, a Misfits fan from way back, and he had done the American Psycho record on Geffen.
Geffen, sure.
And Michael, I think, was leaving Geffen around that time, and let me know that Geffen probably didn't want to continue on with the band.
Right.
At that point, I was like, "Hey, let's sign the Misfits." Why not? Why wouldn't you?
Right.
It was as simple as that. And they
Who
made.
produced this? Was this Daniel Ray?
So this record started off as another Daniel Ray record.
Right.
Ended up with Ed Stasium tracking some guitars and mixing the record.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different Misfits record than certainly the Glenn era.
Well, of course,
but
a lot of people love this record.
There's people who like somebody like say Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth. This is his favorite Misfits record.
I've heard it, man. I've heard people say this is my. I happen to be a Michael Graves fan. I toured with them on the Lago record. I was out on the road with them in Europe for the whole tour. I spent a lot of time on the road with these guys. I thought Graves was a great frontman and a great singer. So you have people that are real lovers of the Michael Graves era, which is basically those two records.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this helped carry on that legacy.
Yeah,
for forward to a point where they could do the reunion. They could do the original Misfits reunion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely there's definitely great moments. There's definitely problematic moments.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that Jerry and Doyle, and when Doyle was out and it was just Jerry out doing it, like they carried the mantle. They waved the flag for Vernon, New Jersey, for Vernon Valley, New Jersey.
Yeah, listen, things carry on, and then in the end they kind of go full circle, and that's the way it works out many times with these kind of bands. So another band who have been on the show are the guys from Il Niño, and of course you signed them to Roadrunner, and they hardworking guys went on to have a nice career. Could you give us a little insight into El Niño?
Sure. I mean, Il Niño's the band that cemented my career at Roadrunner. There were bands I had signed before. The Misfits were one of them, but I think that was a perfect example of walking into a club, seeing a band on stage that was playing to 300 or 400 people, and I think it was the first show, and just being blown away. And they, in some like Dave Shivari is probably one of the best organizational band leaders I've ever met and ever worked with. Mm-hmm. He had a vision for it. He had a musical vision for it. He had a marketing vision for it. He, basically took what he had started with a band called El Niño, which was, Jorge from Marauder and I think members of Demolition Hammer and Gothic Slam.
And before that, Dave was in Propane and MOD, and he was in Gothic Slam. So he put in a couple years.
Right, Soulfly for a minute.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, so he sort of applied that Soulfly, Sepultura roots blueprint to this band. Handpicked the right members, put the right guys in the right seats, and came with a sound that, while you could definitely hear the reference points, and it was definitely very reflective of what was going on with new metal at the time. Gave it its own identity in life, and they killed it live.
Yeah,
that was one of those things you just go, okay, I am lucky enough to be the only A&R guy in the room, and I am going to get this done immediately.
Yeah, and of course they found and cultivated an incredible fan base, in South America and in Europe. I mean, they went over there and put in work and became hugely successful in South America.
Oh, totally. And look, the great thing is, they've had some membership changes, but Dave is running with a version of that band. Yeah, it's strong, if not stronger, than they were at their, at their highest points. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of credit to him, and again, I always say, when I sign an artist, we're not friends. We work on different sides of the desk.
That's good.
We'll be friends after, this is done. And Shivari is one of those guys who has remained one of my friends.
It's interesting because Alago has said the same thing to me about his A&R career and with Metallica. Is there came a certain point like where if you cross that line, it's a little dangerous. We're not friends. Need to be the record label and the A&R guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm here to do my best by you. I'm here to carry the ball as far as I can.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, the A&R guys, gets paid by the label.
Right.
And we sign these a band will be signed, in the interest of being successful for the label. Occasionally we're a two-headed, the A&R guy can be a two-headed monster.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think part of what happened with Alago is hanging out and partying with bands back then sort of led to some issues. Hanging out and partying with the band, sort of blurred the line a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, I've been vaguely straight edge-esque with a couple,
Yes.
A couple of years here and there.
Yep.
And to me, the party has been the gig.
Absolutely. Hey, let me do my last sponsor shout out, and we'll come back and we'll take some questions from around the world. Okay. All right. Our guest today is Mike Gitter, journalist and A&R exec. Get your questions ready, please. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and let's talk about Your Core fan page. In the wake of the pandemic, Your Core Chris created Your Core fan page. Utilizing lessons learned from over 20 years of being an educator and social worker, he decided to try and reach where hardcore punk and the surrounding genre of bands create not only their music, but their message. The interviews are from a psychological perspective to harvest motivation, personal insight, and perspective. Please reach out to them on Facebook or Instagram if you have content to share or you want to promote your band, Your Core fan page. And you asked for it, you got it. Our boys in Corpus Christi, Texas, Chacho's Tacos. They opened the doors in 2001, home of the almighty Chacho's Taco, which the brothers are coming on the show with the taco in the near future. They cook up incredible home-style Tex-Mex food, and this month they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. They've been supporting underground music since the beginning, and in their words, we ain't stopping anytime soon. Touring bands that play Corpus Christi, swing by and get a home-cooked meal at Chacho's Tacos. We got you. The underground scene will never die. Please follow us on Facebook or on Instagram. While we're at it, DTFM Vinyl Distro is a record store that specializes in underground music, punk, ska, hardcore, metal, and more. Located in the heart of Fargo, North Dakota's industrial district, shop in person or online at www.dtfmvinyldistrict.com, where their motto is death to false metal. Last but not least, what's up, Josh in Lakewood, Colorado? Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards is the Rocky Mountain headquarters for all things punk, hardcore, and metal. Established in 2014, they have the largest selection of records, CDs, shirts, stickers, patches, and accessories between Chicago and Los Angeles. From the pit to the ditch, they've got your back. Get in touch with them at www.chainreactionrecords.com. Just want to remind everybody, of course, from now on, the Patreon-only shows are every other Wednesday. If you're out there and you've been living in a friggin' cave and you're saying, yo, I just stumbled across the show, it's kind of great, and I want to contribute, there it is. There is a Patreon page. There's a $2 tier, a $5, a $10 tier, 96 tiers. I'm going to cry. There's also a PayPal page if you want to make a one-time only donation. If the Patreon thing is too much for you to wrap your head around. But if you can, come join us on Patreon. That said, hey, check out the merch link underneath. A7 compilation merch, New York Hardcore Chronicles live merch, including the Do Good Things and Do Good Things Will Come to You line of crapola. So that said, I want to shout out Upstate Rick, who recently had a birthday. Love you, bro. Want to shout out Lori, Dawn, and Daisha, and everybody, Women of the Pit. Oh yeah, you know what? If you're sitting there and you got your communication device with you, we just started a new Antidote NYHC Instagram page. It's at @antidote_NYHC. I know I'm sort of going beyond the realms of death here and pushing this, but hey, we just started this new Instagram page. Follow us, Antidote. We got a bunch of stuff going on, including the A7 comp, the Coney Island comp, and a new release this summer. So go, there it is. Go check it out. There's also a super chat. If you have a burning desire, and you want to also contribute at the same time, put up the super chat. It comes up in color. I could see it, and we will ask that question. That said, it is question time, everybody. Let me clear the deck, and let's bring our guest, Mike Gitter, back on the show. La, 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 la. I'm so glad we had this time together. Hold on. It's been a while since we've done show. It's been a while since we've done show tunes. You know, we got to do show tunes again soon. All right. That said, let's bring on Mr. Mike Gitter. What's up?
See, I am so glad to bring back show tunes to the show.
Yeah, we got crazy for a while, you know, because I got a little background, you know, being a actor and did plays as a teenager. You know, we had a little, you know, I went to Emerson to study acting.
Right.
Yeah. So, and now I'm acting again. Look what I'm doing with myself. You know,
See?
I'm doing this show. It's like an act.
I would say you're acting up.
Yeah, because this isn't really me. Like this is like I signed a contract to be the Drew Stone character. Like I'm not anything like this.
Yeah. Okay, Drew.
All right. So anyway,
thank you, Lori.
All right. Let me find a good one. Let's start. Let's start with this. Our resident historian Chucky Brown from Crazy Eddie. This is an interesting one. I know nothing about this. Here we go. He interviewed Black Flag and asked Henry Rollins why he changed his name. I believe he still has the tape to that interview.
Yes, I do. That was my first interview ever with Black Flag.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, young people will ask anything. And Henry lovingly looked at me and told me he would skin me alive.
If you told why he changed his name?
No, just no. I mean, I think that's very well documented.
Yeah.
No, he was just like, I should skin you alive. But you know, that was the
I see.
That was the Black Flag ethos. You know, you've got to remember that they were out there taking it so hard on the chin.
Yeah.
You know, they were like feral beasts at that point.
Right.
By the way, Henry was the first person to come with a contribution for the Triple X book.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
Well, he's a big literary, supporter, man. Of course, right? I mean, Chris Corcoran wants to know: was that at the channel in the van?
I'm trying to think. They had gotten out of the van as opposed to being in the van.
Right.
It was moments before the Nig heist had taken the stage,
which was Mugger and them, right?
Right. It was Mugger, Billy Stevenson.
Oh yeah, Billy. Okay.
Right. Dez was playing drums, I think.
Yeah, they were pretty kooky.
Well, that Nick Heist record's like the Stooges Metallic,
Well, someone told like Mugger's in the stock market now or something. Mugger's like a yeah. That makes sense.
Well, he again, Ginn, Dukowski, these are brilliant people. And
what I would do to get Dukowski on this show, man.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
that guy to me, boy, that guy's a pioneer.
So they bought, from what I understand, they bought him out. They bought out his piece of SST.
Right.
And put that money in, he basically invested that money into technologies. So consequently, Mugger made some cash.
There you go. Jamie says Davo, their roadie. Right.
Cool. Yep.
That's who it was. Yeah, sure. Yep. All right. This is interesting. What is any words on apology? I saw y'all at the channel. What?
That was a really good learning experience for me, and I learned that I'm best suited on the side of the desk I am now.
Is that it?
Is what? Whoa! Look at that hot look.
Is this apology live?
Yeah, that's a live apology show.
Look at you ripping it up with that mane of hair.
That was a gorgeous mane of hair. But yeah, I mean, that was a band. Everyone should try to be in a band. Okay.
Right.
And Apology were a bunch of people who were not at all on the same page musically.
That's always good.
There was a lot of Dag Nasty sort of Wig Out Denko's 7 second, sort of mid-era 7 seconds worship going on.
Right.
So it was we were emo before emo when there was a hardcore quotient to that, and we made a record that was actually produced by Vic Bondi.
Wow.
Yeah, who had moved to Boston and actually was one of my teachers at Boston University.
Oh shit.
And we, the guy is in brilliant music. The guy is brilliant in every regard.
Now,
yeah.
Now that is not this, correct?
Oh, that is awesome.
So wow. So the truth comes out. You actually been in a couple of bands.
I was in No System for about a show and for about several practices. And the handsome gentleman with the D.O.A. shirt is Al Quint.
Wow.
Who, kicked me out of the band when he realized that I had really no talent or no business being there, and carried the No System mantle for years. Although, do you remember those? Remember all those cassette compilations that came out way back when? So we were on a cassette compilation that was put out by Action Records, home to Psycho and Cancerous Growth.
Yeah, well, Cancerous Growth, wasn't that Steve Versteen's band?
No, that was Terminally Ill.
That was what?
That was Terminally Ill.
Terminally Ill. Cancerous Growth, Terminally Ill.
Well,
Excuse me.
Right. So we had a song on one of those compilations called SAT.
Mm-hmm.
And you really don't get any more sort of puerile and suburban.
Well, listen, bro, look at what's going on in this picture. It looks like you're in is it the living room? You're set up in someone's hey, yeah. Mom, can we practice in the living room?
Exactly what it was.
Jesus, I love the drapes. I love the gold, drape, circa 1988, and
I like the holiday cards in the background.
Yeah, right on the fireplace mantle.
Yeah, don't be knocking those down. And by the way, notice the headband.
Right. Oh, the headband. Okay. And also, Happy Jack says, "Who wears short shorts?"
Clearly, I do. I did.
And Thomas Starkey says, "Homeboy on the right has a hell of a shirt on."
the fashion sense in that band was second to none.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm gonna wear a crazy like Hawaiian shirt. You're gonna wear like an old school hardcore shirt. Like the drummer looks like he's 12 years old.
Yeah.
Oh,
But Al,
was this a show? Is this a show or is this a rehearsal?
I believe that was one of the scant rehearsals that I was involved with.
Yeah, I'm hoping you're not doing a show in someone's living room. Yeah, what the hell was in the back pocket of those shorts? That's great, man.
No,
Also, big shout out to Baseboard Heat. Okay.
Okay.
Good name for a band. Yo, we're Baseboard Heat. That's fucking awesome. Don't steal that, man. What was the other one we used to goof on? Scalpel. Remember that? But no, we used to early on in the show. That's a baseboard. That's a new one. Baseboard Heat. I like that for a band name. So anyway, back on track here. That was a nice. That was good. Okay, this is from our man upstate, Rick. Wow, so many incredible experiences. Do you have a favorite moment over the years? Something that sticks out where you say, "Yeah, that made it all worth it."
I mean, the honest answer would be like, right, shit, right now, the fact that we get to talk about this stuff, the fact that I get to, wake up tomorrow and work with bands,
Mhm.
I can't wait to hear the Lorna Shore EP that's going to come, into my inbox this week. I have Venom Prison in the studio. I have a band called Frozen Soul, who are from Texas, who are like these, hardcore kids who are, who worship Bolt Thrower, who made one of the best, metal debuts, in recent memory.
Mhm.
So in terms of moments, there's thousands of moments and thousands of moments to come. Look, getting the book done was big. The getting the book done was big because that was, the equivalent of like claiming one's space. But it's been incredibly, like the whole journey's been incredibly gratifying.
Cool. Here's an interesting one. Are there any new metal or hardcore bands that you would recommend?
Hell yes.
It's what I do for a living, motherfuckers.
Come on. I mean, is it a surprise that, I felt like over the past year or so, records by Of Feather and Bone, Enforced, Orthodox Gulch, Venom Prison, Blood Incantation, Frozen Soul, God, the list goes on. And that's one of the best things about this is there's always going to be a great record or a great band. You have to look, you have to look, and you have to sort of spend time looking. And even some of the old homies will come up with like a killer record, like that Seized Up record.
Mm-hmm.
That's Clifford from Blast. Or even, I've worked with, there's plenty of like great records from veteran bands. These guys put out.
Well, you guys have loved them. You and Scott Koenig have loved them forever, man.
Yeah, but talk about like their record, A History of Nomadic Behavior,
mm-hmm.
came out on Friday, and it's an amazing I Hate God record, and you gotta give it credit. You gotta give credit to I Hate God being, a force unto themselves, and I think in a very contemporary sense, being this generation's Black Flag.
All these years later, which sort of segues into this question from RS7 to UGHC. Any bands that went to the record company and fucked shit up?
Yeah, there are. There's. I would, rather than naming names.
Yeah. We're not trying to go there, but
right.
Which you know what, this sort of segues into this other one. Who was the most volatile band Mike worked with as A&R? So it's sort of in the same realm.
Ooh, that's a super good question. who was the most volatile? Well, I bring such a calming presence to them all. I think that, you know, bands by their very nature are, you know, delicate. You know, it's a delicate relationship between, you know, creative people. So, you know, it's understandable that, you know, when someone, you know, like, I mean, Killswitch, you know, obviously was volatile for a minute, and then and they've had a, you know, 20+ year career since. You know, I've definitely had bands where members have left. I've definitely had bands where members have come in. It's, you know, I mean, if we look at like some of our you know, some of our favorite bands are bands like the Bad Brains and the Cro-Mags, you know, and that volatility almost fuels the greatness of their music.
Makes sense. Absolutely. But it's a pretty fine line, you know?
Yeah.
Is this our buddy Ryan Bland? Did you, I believe Mike had an involvement with Derek Green joining Sepultura. Is that correct?
I sure did. They were looking for a singer, and Derek, you know, Derek ruled and still rules. You know, I knew him from a previous band he was in called Outface. You know, he had both I knew him from Outface, but when Sepultura was looking for a vocalist, you know, the thing that basically made me want to put Derek up for the gig was he'd been in a band called Overfiend, which, you know, if we want to go back through, you know, our friends from the past, which was Charlie Garriga, who from and Outfit, you know,
and Sammy was playing drums, right?
Yeah, Sammy was playing drums, and you know, I think they played like 1 or 2 shows. There was a demo, and Derek, you know, just came off great. And I think that Sepultura at that point was looking for something that was going to be different than, you know, their time, the Max Cavalera era.
Sure.
And they wanted a singer who had his own stamp. And Derek just worked with them on a musical level, on a personal level. And they've had a long career, and they've had a lot of, like, you know, good to great records with him. Although, you know, you can't beat those early Sepultura records.
Yeah, but I have to say, I have a lot of respect for Derek and for what they've done. You know, they're still a beloved band by a lot of people. They have probably the sickest friggin' drummer on the planet Earth right now playing for them.
Yeah, that guy's amazing.
I mean, that guy's like,
yeah.
I mean, go look that up. And you know, they hold the course. They you know, yeah, sure, it's not as big as it was when Max was in the band, but they have their own career and it's theirs.
You know, and they've had arcs to that career. They've had, you know, times where it was bigger, smaller, bigger. I think the Quadra record, is one of Sepultura as an entity's best records. And you know, I'm to me, you know, it's like, to me, the payoff working with any musician is to see longevity, and to see them be able to do this over a number of years and sustain a career. And I love the fact that, you know, Derek has been able to do that.
Yeah, I like it. Let's get down the brass tacks here, and let's talk about this. Ice-T and Body Count.
Hell yeah.
That's up for a Grammy tonight. Let's talk about that a little bit.
These fingers are crossed.
I told you, man. I did my voodoo here. I took out some of my awards that I've never put out during the show. I put a little voodoo in place for you, bro. The voodoo that you do. A whole bunch of my Extreme awards that I won through the years for my extreme sports films. There's 4 of them. I dusted them off and put them out because I'm rooting for you and I'm rooting for Ice tonight.
And
Not that I'm going to watch that Grammy Awards, but
well, it's not going to be that part of the Grammys isn't televised anyway.
right.
You know, I'm insanely proud of the 2 records that they did.
Now, let me just get clear. Now, Body Count you signed to Century Media, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the Carnivore record, which is up for a Grammy this year, you know,
And that's what best heavy metal.
best metal performance.
Best metal performance, sure.
Like, it's a great record. I think that the Bloodlust record is an incredible and just really heavy record for when it came out in history. You know, because that was in the wake of Trayvon Martin. You know, that was in the wake of like the beginning of, you know, really police brutality being, you know, not even the beginning. I shouldn't say the beginning, but that was, you know, that was a pronounced moment in police brutality. And, you know, the record with songs like Black Hoodie and No Lives Matter was incisive. It was smart, and it was musically just a great record. It was just a great record, you know, start to finish.
Well, let's you know, I gotta get Ice on the show. I talked to him. Me and Astoria Lou ran into him when he was at the Chiller Theater Con, and I was walking up to him to give him a copy of the New York Hardcore Chronicles DVD, the film. He saw me walking up to me, and he goes, as he saw me walking up to him, and he went, "I saw it, I loved it," and we started talking New York Hardcore, because right around then he did some guest vocals on the Madball record.
Yep.
So we had a great chat. But he's a hard guy for me to get to because, of course, you know, management, this and that. You know, you have to go through management, so that makes it kind of hard with the show. You know.
Yeah, I mean, also his, you know, obviously he's real busy. But
Yep.
in terms of like, you know, working with him, you know, if there was ever a creatively generous artist, it's Ice. Smart guy, you know, certainly is, you know, has had a like incredible, you know, like, you know, paradigm changing career.
Yeah.
But is also smart enough to go, yeah, I'll listen, you know, I'll listen, and you might be wrong, but I'll try that. And even if these 8 ideas are not great ideas, these 2 ideas might be good. So let's see where we can go with that. I mean, it was funny. There was a moment as we were wrapping up the Bloodlust record at Will Putney's studio, and Will is a phenomenal producer himself, where we had gone through a bunch of songs and we were just talking about, there were a bunch of notes and all that. And I pulled him aside and I said, "Hey man, you know, thank you for listening." And he goes, "Hey, look, it's my first record." And I kind of look at him, I just go, "Okay, that's why you're awesome."
Yeah.
Because you're, you know, you know, it's just, again, he is a legend. But
hey, you don't have a career like that in multimedia, and you know, you have to have your ears open. You have to be a patient person. You have to be open to suggestions.
Yep, and one of the greatest communicators I've ever seen.
Interesting. Hey, someone's asking about that record behind you. What is that? Someone said, "Is that a Sonny and Cher record?" What is that? Nancy and Lee?
No, that's Nancy Sinatra and Lee Hazelwood.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. Good. Well, wait a second. No, when are they announcing the Grammys?
It is now 2:21 here.
Somebody just said Body Count Bum Rush is the winner, just announced.
Is he serious?
Could that be?
Let's
look it up.
Let's look it up.
Let's look it up. Hold on.
If that's the case,
Hold on. I'm not seeing it, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
I'm not getting it in real time.
Hold on 1 second. Let me scroll over here. Let me open up a different
That'd be
window.
fuck, yeah. Yeah, they fucking won, dude.
Boom!
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm reading it right now. Body Count win Best Metal Performance at 63rd Annual Grammy Awards. As is the Best Metal Performance category was handed out during the Grammy Awards premiere ceremony, which was streamed ahead of the official ceremony. This year's winner was Body Count for their track Bum Rush. Frontman Ice-T accepted the award with his family below on the live stream. Do I have that here? Hold on. Do I have that? Hold on. Body accepted his award. Oh, I don't via a live stream. Okay, I don't. Okay, yeah. There you go.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Look,
Okay.
listen.
I'll
You
call my
tell
mom.
Ice-T that Drew Stone did his voodoo.
There you go. It's all down to the voodoo, man.
It's the voodoo. It's the voodoo that you do. You know.
Hey.
All right, and here that comes. Congratulations. That's dope. You know, good for you. First Grammy win on the show, live from New York. That is awesome, man. Good for you, buddy. That is awesome.
I mean, honestly, good. Like, I'm happy. You've got to remember, like, you've got guys in that band. You know, Ice.
Well, Ernie, right?
Ernie C.
Ernie's been, yeah.
Like, you know, Vince,
right.
who's an OG as well. Juan Garcia from Agent Steel.
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and Evil Dead. Like, these guys have put in the mileage.
That's great, man. That is great. Ernie, I remember for Ernie. You know, Ernie's been around for a minute. You know. That is. Yep, that's right. It's this. Yo, listen, man. I don't use my voodoo often. Like, you know, I don't get down with my voodoo too often. But when I do, I mostly use it on girls and stuff. But once in a while, like if somebody needs to win a Grammy, I got you.
Yeah, I'm literally I'm being blown up. Like,
are you? You being blown up right now?
Yeah, blown up, like downtown Beirut right now.
Yeah, that's great. Yep. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, where
dreams come true.
Where dreams come true.
Now this is a first, right?
That is awesome.
Wow.
Listen, there's been a lot of good stuff with the show, so that's perfect, and I'm happy for you, and I really am. And I'm happy for everybody involved. That's great because you know what? Those guys deserve it. They've been at it a long time.
They've put in the miles, and you know, Body Count.
Okay, yeah. What? Yeah, Mike's first thoughts.
God, what? I couldn't be happier for all of us. Like, again, you know, it's a testament to Ice's long-term vision with the band.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also the miles that have been put in by everybody in the hard work done, you know, by the band, the label, the management. You know, I feel like I'm giving an acceptance speech, but
it's great. I'm thrilled for you, man. I'm very happy for you, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good. And you know, and for Century Media as well, because I have a long history with Century Media.
Yes,
I do. And you know, Robert Kampf, who is one of the founders of the label, is an old friend of mine. When I managed bands back in the day, he signed my bands Marauder and Furia 5 and Sub-Zero and Visaria. And Robert was always very good to me. And as a matter of fact, he also was he got behind me with the New York Hardcore Chronicles film. and made a really great contribution that helped that film get made. So I've always, been close, with the Century Media family. So I'm happy for all you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. And please, body counts in the house.
And by the way, let's not discount the Marauder record.
Oh yeah, Marauder Master Killer. Yeah, give us a little take on that.
Again, talk about a record that's responsible for, or highly influential on the modern sound of metal and hardcore.
Produced by Paris May, who basically doesn't, acts like it never happened, and he could care less. But that record, I was managing it at the time. Century Media got behind them. It was recorded at Normandy Sound, where the Cro-Mags recorded Best Wishes. Paris Mayhew reproduced many of the recording techniques that they used on Best Wishes, and that's a landmark record.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, man. So, all right, man. Listen, I want to let you go. I know you got a lot to attend to. If you do speak to Ice, put in a good word about the show. And tell him, listen, enjoy that Grammy. Drew Stone did his voodoo. That's part of the reason he got the Grammy. He needs to come on my show now.
Of course. There you go.
Anybody you want to shout out or any last words?
No, just thank you for having me. Thanks for like this has been insanely fun and a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Capped off with a Grammy win. Okay.
You know what? You know who wants to? Hey, you raising a drink to Gitter here? Is that what's happening?
Good.
Okay. Wait. Let me get mine too. Hold on. Here we go. Here's to Mike Gitter, Century Media, Ice-T, and Body Count.
Cheers.
There you go.
That is fantastic.
Body Count's in the house.
Woohoo! Fantastic. Go ahead,
right.
Gitter.
What a happy ending to the show, huh?
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So,
all right. Well, anybody else, Mike?
No, thank you guys, and it's been a good one.
Keep in touch, and I'll see you when I'm out there.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Take care, man.
Take care, Mike.
All right. Okay. Peace.
Well, there you go. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live special Grammy edition. We are hosted by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, The Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, Your Core Hardcore Fan Page, DTFM, Vinyl Distro, and of course, in Corpus Christi, Texas, Chacho's Tacos. Well, that was pretty cool. Great show. Thanks, Astoria Lou. Love you, bro, and I'll see you soon. Sean McNally with the assist, bro. Matt, Sean McNally bringing it. Great show as always. Nothing like topping it off with a Grammy on a punk rock hardcore show. I'm about the luckiest guy you know. I'm doing something I love doing, and I just got to thank you all very much. Who would have thunk it? Not me. Great show. Thank you. Congrats from Norway. Just everybody, man. That was a great show. That was super fun. That was worth the price of admission alone, huh?
That was awesome.
Hey, you know what? Since while we're here and while you're here, let's go through this real quick. Upcoming shows.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate, a week from today, this Wednesday, there is a Patreon show we will be doing this Wednesday. So if you are a Patreon, you will see this show. If not, a week from today is the return of Jimmy G. Then the following Wednesday, Johnny Waste from Urban Waste is on the show. Sunday, March 28th, John Jesse from Nausea. And then a week after that, Mr. Al Burrell, which we're all looking forward to. And then the Wednesday after that, Wednesday, April 27th, will be Billy Psycho. So there you go. Yes, that was the cherry on the cake. Doesn't get any better than that, man. That was awesome. Steven, get that creature out of the lens.
He wants 5 seconds in.
Everybody, listen, everybody wants some glory now.
That's it.
I got to put all my voodoo stuff away now.
You got to just remember to use your.
You know what? You know what I didn't? You know what I didn't tell him either? Especially, see the Judgment Night gold record I have with Ice-T on it? I actually rotated that because that's never been sort of on the front wall here. I kind of moved some things around. I did a whole little number here.
That was Ice-T and Slayer. That song is awesome.
Yeah, Ice-T and Slayer. Yep. What song did they do on there?
Disorder.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
there you go. Yep. All right, cool. Well, hey, I'll see you in a bit.
That's right.
I'll talk to you later. I'll see you in a couple days. All right. What a great show. That was amazing. Thank you all very, very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Gab, enjoyed this show. Congrats to Body Count. Yeah, man. It was great. Disorder. So, yes, with great power comes great responsibility. I need to put all my voodoo stuff away. It will only lead me to trouble. There will only be problems. Don't make me kill again. Don't make me do bad things. Because you know I want to. Listen, it's one thing to use the voodoo on the girls. It's another thing to use voodoo on the Grammys. So I'm treading a thin line here. I got to put the stuff, right away. Put it away. Bury it. Fantastic show. Yeah, man. Did I sell the Slayer poster? No, the Slayer poster's on another wall now. It's out of the way. I do good things and a Grammy will come to you. Absolutely. There you go. All right, everybody. Let's not make this some crazy ass marathon. Patrons, I will see you on Wednesday. Everybody else, I will see you a week from today with Jimmy G. Until then, and make sure everything's... Yeah, Ryan, it was a good show, man. Thank you, and thanks, Chucky. Thanks, everybody. And listen, until then... Rackbone! Do good things. And good things certainly will come to you.